Rafael Varane will be the signing of the summer.
Ooh. I actually think Sancho.
What? What's happening, people? It's your Uncle Specs Gonzalez. Yes, I'm filling in for Harry Pinero on assumptions because he's gone on holiday. Now, I was supposed to go on holiday with Harry, but Harry said, no, Specs, you've got to stay here because you're having a chat with Jamie Carragher. I said, Jamie Carragher? Harry, you fly away by yourself. Before the launch of the new season, Sky Sports are celebrating the fans with their Football Fandom 2021 report. Sky Sports are celebrating all fans who follow football in different ways. From the home and away diehards to the statos, with football culture in the UK evolving to become a much more inclusive place for fans. So with that said, we've got the main man who's always on the side of the fans. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Carragher. Jamie, before we start, I just want to say thank you for coming. You smell nice and I can't wait to tell my kids I'm talking to you.
Cheers, Specs, no problem.
Before we get into assumptions with Jamie, I want to ask you, what kind of fan are you?
I am a lifer. Football I have been going to watch since I was 5 or 6 years of age. I still have a season ticket that I pay for myself and go and watch Liverpool to this day. But most lifers will have one football club. I've obviously got two. People are well aware of that. So maybe other lifers may query what category I'm in.
See, I'm a lifer too, but I change.
You change?
I change, yeah, I change. I support Arsenal, but I get to a stage when they lose and I get upset, I go out on loan as a fan. Okay, Jamie, these are the biggest assumptions about you from people out there. So all you need to say is this true or false? You ready?
Yeah.
You celebrated the failure of the Super League like Liverpool winning the league.
True.
What? True.
It was massive. It was massive that. I tell you what, maybe not exactly the same. Because when Liverpool won the league, I was celebrating, I was screaming and shouting. Whereas I was actually a little bit emotional. I was at home watching it on the Tuesday because we'd done the show on the Monday Night Football. And when I saw the scenes at Chelsea, and then I saw basically a statement, Chelsea going to pull out, and I knew it was finished then. And I had such a smile on my face, but I was a little bit, wow. It's the first time I can ever remember supporters all coming together to stop something happening. And I was really proud of football supporters up and down the country, really, that we'd stop these top dogs from all over European football. We'd basically put a pin in their bubble. It was fantastic. I do think the power of the people, or the power of the fans now, is so much stronger. And with social media, we can criticise it at times, but it does do a lot of good, and I think it holds people to account a lot more than what we saw before. With social media, there's a huge movement towards football clubs and pushing their own football clubs to do the right thing.
You're gassed for Van Dijk and Konate's link up this season.
True. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, Joe Gomez is still there. He's had a great partnership with Van Dijk, but I mean, Konate looks an absolute beast.
He does.
I mean, that has the potential to be the best centre-back partnership in the Premier League. It really does. I mean, Van Dijk is the best centre-back in the Premier League. We may have to give him a few months to get back up to speed, but Konate, I watch for Leipzig. He looks like he's got that presence. He's certainly got the pace. It looks really spectacular, yeah.
You used to be the biggest blue in the bootle.
True. I think I'm going to be answering true to all of these. Yeah, I was a big Evertonian as a kid. But yeah, I used to go home and away from the 84-85 season till about 92. And I then went and lived or moved to the National School Football Centre. I then came back from there and was with Liverpool full time. So it was very difficult then, and with being at Liverpool every day, my allegiance was starting to sort of drift, I wouldn't say fully to the red side, and that came as I got closer to the first team, really. So I was very lucky. I saw Everton at possibly, the greatest time in their history, really. The mid to late 80s, lots of Wembley trips, days out, winning trophies. So I saw some bad teams and bad players, I can assure you of that, but nothing compared to what it's been for the last sort of 20, 25 years for Everton, really. So I was one of the lucky ones.
So is it hard to see Rafa Benitez at Everton?
A little bit, yes. I'd say that was another one that's true. He's a Liverpool legend for what he done. Everton fans, I wouldn't say a split on him. I think the majority didn't want him there. But once he's there, you speak to Evertonians now, it's a bit like, well, it's my club. I'm still going to go to the game. We have to support him. I don't think he'll ever be loved by Everton supporters. I think he may be respected if he does a good job. But I think the Merseyside derbies will be key. If he could beat Liverpool in a derby, he may start getting loved by Everton supporters, and vice versa. If he wins too many derbies, he's not going to go well down with the Reds. So if he does too well at Everton, so it's going to be a very interesting dynamic this season.
All right, we're going to go back to Liverpool talk. Cafu is just a Brazilian Trent.
I'll have to say that's false. I still think Trent's got a little bit to go to be talked in the same breath as Cafu. Cafu for me is one of the all-time greats. I think Trent could become one of the all-time greats. He's one of the top fullbacks in European football right now. He's a playmaker from fullback. To put him in the bracket of Cafu just yet, I think is a little bit premature, because Cafu will be remembered as one of the greatest of all times. But hopefully we'll be having this discussion again in 10 or 15 years' time, and we'll be saying, or talking about another young up-and-coming fullback and saying, is he basically the next Trent, or is he whatever it may be, the Scouse?
Roy Keane is jealous of you and Micah Richards.
True.
True?
Yes.
Roy Keane's jealous, yeah?
He's got this little thing going on with Micah, hasn't he? On Sky at the moment. They're challenging me and Gary Neville for the best couple. I nicked Micah off him for a few weeks when we were doing a goggle box, and he phoned up Channel 4. So he's been on the phone to Channel 4, wasn't happy. He makes me feel like Michael McIntyre, because I only have to say something, he just bursts out laughing.
Now this one, I mean, this is probably the biggest debate, but we're asking an expert. Gerrard is the greatest Premier League captain.
Ooh, I would say false. Only because, I mean, people, you know, you look at people who actually lifted the actual Premier League trophy, you know, in terms of captaincy, and the first people who spring to mind for me are Stevie Gerrard, are Roy Keane, and John Terry. They're the first three that I would think of as in terms of Premier League captains, but I think John Terry probably lifted that trophy 4 or 5 times, Roy Keane the same, and that's probably what just edges it. Oh, very difficult to split them. Very, very difficult. I'm not sure I could split them, actually. I love the both of them, Roy Keane and John Terry, both my type of people. I'll go for Roy because he works on Sky, and I don't want to get in trouble with him when I get back to the studio.
And because he's jealous of you as well.
Of course. Don't wind him up too much.
What is the most inspirational thing Steven Gerrard did?
I mean, there was so many with Stevie. I mean, it could be his performances, it could be something on the pitch. His performance in the second half of Istanbul. I mean, you're not going to get a more inspirational performance, I think, from anyone in a game of that magnitude. This was a player who played central midfield in the first half, and it hadn't gone well for him. He then goes and plays a different position, an attacking midfield player in the second half. He then goes to right wing back to stop AC Milan, basically scoring the winning goal to make it 4-3. And that's why I say, when people talk about the greatest player I played with, or one of the greatest players who ever played in the Premier League, in terms of midfielders, I always say Steven Gerrard, because these are the midfield players who he's linked or put up against, whether it's Lampard, whether it's Scholes, whether it's Keane, Vieira, Petit. None of them could have done that in that second half. Even though they're great players, they could not have done it because they didn't have the capacity to still play and be as good as anyone else on a pitch in a different position.
Rafael Varane will be the signing of the summer.
Ooh! I'm going to say false. I actually think Sancho
Okay.
is a better signer for Man U long term. I think Varane has been brilliant for Real Madrid next to Ramos. I think Varane just dropped his standards slightly in the last 18 months or so. I don't think he was at his best for France in the tournament. That's not to say he's not a good player. I think sometimes you need a move, and he probably needs a move now, Varane. But with him being 28, which is still young for a centre-back, but I actually think the acquisition of Sancho is a really good signing.
So you're saying Sancho. My cousin Harry Pinero will be happy to hear that.
Got to keep Harry happy.
You were wrong. Kids do want to grow up to be Gary Neville.
Are you sure? That is false. No one wants to grow up and be a Gary Neville.
I'm disgusted. Absolutely disgusted.
They may want to grow up and be a Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yes.
They may grow up and want to be Reece James, but certainly not. They want to be right backs, don't they? They want to grow up and be right backs, not Gary Neville's. He thinks he's the Prime Minister, doesn't he?
So Jamie, my son's 1. I shouldn't show him videos of Gary Neville.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right, okay.
No. Don't scar him for life. You don't want him to be a steady Eddie, do you? 6 out of 10 every week.
You can't wait to be at Anfield with a full stadium again.
I can't. I have missed it a lot. It's not just Anfield, but you know, the crowd in general just whip you up. And I think it really affected the Liverpool team having no support there last year. And that's not an excuse. Every team is out supporters, but I think there's very few supporters who have the same effect on their team and their players than Liverpool do. And that's why the Kop is famous. That's why Anfield's famous. The players and the manager will have really missed it more than most.
Well, it was great talking to you, Uncle Jamie. I'm now going to be a lifer and make that full transfer to Liverpool and come with you to Anfield.
No problem to my nephew, Specs.
Thank you. All the best.
Cheers, Specs. Thank you.
Cheers, Jamie. People, thank you for coming. Make sure you're subscribed to and your uncle's out.